All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. And I'm Tears of Forrester, and I have here with me Toluope Popoopla. She's interviewing from Lagos, Nigeria. How cool is that? And also today, the day that we're recording, on March 8th, is International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day. She is an entrepreneur and a writer who coaches people to how to accomplish their dreams through writing. She has written numerous books, and what I think is a super cool thing about her is she was just featured on Lancome's My Shade, My Power campaign. So I would check that out because I think that's really cool and features a lot of really empowering women. So tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of who you are, what you do, kind of your journey, how you got to, where you are now.
Okay, my name is Toluope Popoopla, and I'm a writer, and right now I do creative writing, I do teaching, I do coaching and publishing. Now, I wasn't always along this path. I actually used to be an accountant, so I studied accounting and finance at university and also at master's level. So it wasn't until I started working, and I was working in a law firm, but I was working in the accounts department, and I just suddenly started feeling like I'm in the wrong job and I'm doing the wrong thing, and it was just basically doing something for the money just to get paid at the end of every month. So one day I met a lady who was working on a finance project, and she was talking about it, and she sounded so happy, so enthusiastic, so passionate about her job. And I was thinking, you working in finance, right? She said, yeah, I love finance. I love working on finance projects. And I just thought to myself, if she is this excited about working in finance and I'm not, then it looks like there's something wrong with the job I'm doing. It means I'm not in the right place. It means I'm in, I don't fit where I am. So it just got me thinking that, maybe I should think about what I'm passionate about. The way she was just so enthusiastic, I was just thinking, wow, I've never met someone who is so enthusiastic about their job that they love doing it. And to most people, I just see them going to work because it's just a way to pay the bills. But anyway, I started thinking about, okay, so what gets me excited? And I realized, well, I love reading and writing. Those have always been things I love doing, but I never thought about them as a career option. It was just like hobbies, something you do in your spare time. But when I met that lady and something struck me, I thought, okay, maybe I can actually find a way to do something about what I'm passionate about. So I started thinking about maybe I should go back to do a few courses in writing or something. So I started a blog and I started a writing class. And it was very encouraging because I met with the tutor and she was always giving me encouraging feedback. Like, oh yeah, your work is good. Just keep working and you improve. And I thought, okay, cool. If my tutor likes it, then that means at least, there's hope.
Yeah.
So I started a blog where I used to put up short stories and flash fiction. And gradually people started commenting on it saying, oh, this is great. This is lovely. I love this story. And it just encouraged me to continue. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to give this a go. So I started writing more and more and more. I started putting together my first novel. And when it was done and I sent it to someone, he said it was good, but it was obvious that it was an amateur novel. So yeah, so that one never got published. So I just put that aside and I thought, okay, let me work on something else. So I started writing flash fiction, which is the really short stories. And those caught the eye of editors, and they were like, oh wow, you write really good flash fiction. So that was something that I really found exciting. That okay, maybe I can find a niche that I'm really good at. So that was fun. And then I started working on a series with 6 or 7 other writers. We used to write a series every Friday, and then we published it on our blog, and people started reading it, and it was so much fun. We did that for 2 years. So all those things just made me feel, okay, there's something, I could do. This is something I could do. So, okay, at some point, I told my husband, okay, you know what, I think I'm going to just leave accounting and give this writing thing a try. And he was very supportive, was encouraging. Like, yes, I see you. I see the way your eyes light up when you write. And I see the way you grumble when you have to go to work. And, So I'd rather see you happier, I'd rather see the happier you than the grumpy you. So I was like, yes, cool. So anyway, I left my job and I started working on my first novel, which was Nothing Comes Close, which got published, and it did very well. And then gradually, some of my friends started saying, "Oh wow, how did you get your book written? How did you get it published?" And I said, "Well, it was a lot of trial and error, but I figured it out." So one person came and said, "Oh, can you help me publish my book too?" So I helped her publish her book, and then the next person came and said, "Can you help me publish my book?" So I helped him publish his book. And then before I knew it, I was getting referrals and people were saying, "Oh, if you want to publish a book, just go to Tolu. She'll help you. She'll sort you out." And that was how it became kind of like my job, And then of course over time I had to refine it and think about, okay, now what do I call myself? Writer,
Right.
Writer, publisher, and writing coach. So yeah, that's how I started this journey, and it's been great so far. It's been lovely because I get to work on my own terms. I
Right.
can work from home. It's something I enjoy doing because I love writing and I love reading. So it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like, I have to get up and go to an office, which I didn't like the 9 to 5, by the way, because
Yeah.
I'm naturally a night owl, so I don't wake up, mentally until about 4 in the evening, and by then it's time to go home after work, and
Right. Yeah.
so it was always like I never really put in my best, when I was in the 9 to 5. But now I can structure my time, I can structure my day, I can work around my commitments and my family, and yeah, so it's really great doing what I'm doing now.
Very cool. I love that. Yeah, sometimes I feel like these things just happen almost accidental, like part of it's intentional, but it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm good at this and people are noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You talked a little bit about this, but maybe there's another time that you felt like you kind of lost your vision and kind of maybe a really hard time in your business, or a time that you just kind of were like, what am I doing? Where am I going? And how you kind of recentered yourself, or what you did to get back to that place of peace.
Okay, yeah, there was a time when I first quit my job. Like I said, my husband was supportive, but there were many other people who didn't understand it, who didn't get it at all. So whilst my husband was saying, yes, yeah, go for it, follow your heart and all that, I was getting queries from people like, and my friends were saying, why would you quit your job? Who does that? I was only like 26 at the time, and everybody was thinking, oh, most of my friends were at the start of their careers, and they were like, oh, but Tolu is retiring. So sometimes it looked, and then at the beginning, obviously, it looked like I was just sitting at home doing nothing. Because people would call me and I'll pick up my phone and be like, oh, where are you? Aren't you at work? I'm like, no, I'm not at work, I'm at home. And they were like, why are you at home, on a Tuesday morning? Like, well, I'm not exactly doing nothing. I'm trying to, set up something here. But not many people understood. Even my dad didn't understand, because a lot of the times he would criticize me and say, oh, why am I being a kept woman, and why am I not making use of my degrees and all that.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of convincing for him to understand that, well, I'm trying to do something different. I know I can always go back to accounting if I fail, but I really have to try. At least I have to make sure that I've given it a good try and I've pursued it to my heart's content. So yeah, that was one of the challenges I faced. And then another challenge was when I finished writing one novel. Well, I'd almost finished. I was about, I think, 80% done. And then I found a book that had been written and published by another author. And the synopsis looked very familiar. So I just said, okay, let me buy it and read it. And it was as if I was reading my own book, my own manuscript that I was writing. So, everything was so similar, even the character names,
Wow.
chapters, scenes, everything very, very similar. And I was in shock and I was thinking, oh my God, how did this happen? How did somebody take my manuscript and publish it, And I was so sad. And I called one of my friends who, she's a writer and she's kind of like my writing mentor. So she told me, oh yeah, that happens sometimes, that sometimes two writers have the same idea at the same time. It's just the first person to publish gets the rights, So
Mm-hmm.
if you publish your own book first, then you get the right to call that your story. So I was thinking, okay, so what do I do? She said, well, unless you want to get sued, you have to, put that, you have to put that story aside. So I was like, oh man, I've worked on this thing for months. And she said, yes, she understands that she even has had similar things. And indeed, when I went back and Googled it, I saw that it's happened many times where two writers have the same idea. And it's just the first person to publish has the copyright and the rights to the book. So the other person has to either completely change their story or, add new things or just throw the story away. So yeah, I did cry for a while,
Yeah.
but I had to let that go. But it was just one of those things that you can't control. Somebody else published it first. So So what I do to keep me grounded is I think about what else can I do really apart from pursue my dreams. If I go back to accounting, I know I will not be fulfilled. I know I will not be happy. I know, I would be going back into something I know doesn't work for me, something I know I'm not the right fit for. And so I just keep on thinking, well, I'm better off staying where I am, I'm better off trying to make this work than going back to accounting. And over time, well, it's been almost 8 years now since I left my job. Over time, it's kind of worked out for me that, well, now I can't even go back.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
No turning back at this point.
Yeah. So like, no turning back at this point. It's like everybody now knows what I do, so it's like I can't quit now.
Right. You have a team cheering you on in the background. Yeah. Now that they believe, like, oh, she actually is serious.
Yeah, I know, because like my dad came to my first book launch and he was very happy. And then I told him, well, see, I wasn't just sitting at home doing nothing, I was actually writing and trying to forge a new career. And of course, it takes a while to learn everything. But, I'm glad he came around and he now believes in me. He now supports me. In fact, I just published his book as well.
Oh, very cool.
So I encourage him to start writing too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That kind of leads me to my next question. What kind of things, it could be anything like taking a walk or watching TV or whatever it is, activities or practices that you do to kind of get creative and to come up with new ideas for a book or, helping clients, what kind of things, like if you're stuck, what do you do to kind of just like recharge?
Okay. For me, it's listening to music and reading. Those are two main things. And also, I recently started meditating. So in the mornings, I just listen to calm music and just clear my mind for 10, 15 minutes, just to recenter my mind and clear, And sometimes you just get an idea when your mind is calm, when your mind is clear. And then you think, okay, yeah, that's good. That's something I can, take forward. And then I also keep learning, there's always something new to learn. So I learn from other people who are in this industry, people who are self-published authors, people who are consultants, publishers, and so on. Like there's a whole big industry now that wasn't there when I started, but now I have to keep up with everything that's changing so fast. Sometimes Amazon brings out a new policy and changes the whole game. So sometimes you have to keep up with what's happening in the industry. Yeah, so that's what I do. Reading, meditating, listening to music. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you work with a lot of people that, are just starting and, entering into a world of maybe a little bit of overwhelm. And so what would you tell someone who, is just starting, and how do you work them through the process, and how do you help them find their voice, I mean?
Okay, well, finding your voice, I always tell people, first of all, don't compare.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself to other people, because what you see of other people is the final published, edited work. It doesn't look like that when they first write it,
Right.
Because nobody writes a masterpiece on their first attempt. So I always tell them, don't compare. If you compare, you feel like you are less than them. You feel like, you never get to that stage, or you feel like, everybody else has got it all figured out and you're the only one who's a loser. So I tell people, never ever compare. And then don't get too stressed about it. What you need to do is start and practice. That's all. Just start and practice. Of course, your first few works will not be like Nobel Prize winning material, but that's where practice comes in. So keep keep reading and keep practicing.
Yeah.
So and then don't give up if it looks like, oh, you're not improving. Because for me, I remember I used to think I still write, the same way I wrote, a year ago. And actually somebody then read one of my books and said, actually your craft is showing. It shows that you've spent time improving yourself, because there's a big difference between what you wrote on your blog in 2008 and what you're writing now. And I'm like, okay, but as a writer, I didn't notice it until somebody else noticed it. So it's advisable to just go easy on yourself. Don't feel stressed out. You might not see the progress you're making, but other people will see it and other people will notice it. So and then so never compare, and go easy on yourself, because you are improving as long as you keep working.
Yeah, I think that's really crucial, not to compare, because we're all at different places. And so where I am is different from where you are, and where, so-and-so, and, everyone's doing something completely different and has a completely different voice too. So I think that it's so easy to compare, I think.
I know, right? Because I know somebody, one of my clients was telling me, oh, when she reads other people's books, she feels so intimidated. And I tell her, well, that is a book that has gone through several drafts. It has gone through editors, that has gone through proofreaders, it has gone through so many people who have read it and made it better each time. So you can't compare your first draft to somebody else published finished work. There's going to be a world of difference. And if you keep doubting yourself, you will never finish. And if you never finish, you will never get published, because nobody will publish a half-finished book. So put the doubts aside, try and finish, and then polish. So finish before you think, okay, now I need to make it better.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, including myself, we have all these ideas and all these great plans, and then we get to it, and halfway through we're like, I can't do this.
It doesn't look like what you had in mind.
Yeah. Like, what was I going to do? And, you start talking like, is this crazy? And, I think the finishing is so, so crucial. Like, whether it's the next bestseller, or like, like something that, as long as at least you finish.
As long as you finish it. Because I know I have some clients who have several drafts, incomplete drafts, and they come to me and say, oh, I would really love to finish one. And tell, okay, so why did you get stuck? Oh, it got boring halfway, so I left it and started another one. Like, well, if you never push through that boring phase, you will never finish a work, because writing a book takes time and takes commitment. A book just doesn't sit down and write itself. You have to do it. And if you stop halfway, then nobody will ever read your books.
Right. Yeah. I think that's true. Yeah. Finishing. So important. So is there anything else that's just on your heart, or that you would like to share? It could be anything, really. I just kind of want to hear from you, and people want to hear, your wisdom about, being an entrepreneur, and, following your dreams, even though it may not have seemed like the normal thing to do at the time. So yeah, just kind of share whatever's on your heart, or anything else that you would like to say.
Okay. One thing I would like to say is, you don't know it all at the beginning. Nobody does. So at first, it was like I was just almost like an accidental entrepreneur, and I didn't have a single marketing skill. I didn't have a single sales skill. I didn't even have any idea what I was doing. So I was just going solely based on hope and passion for what I was doing. But along the line, I knew that, well, if I was going to become professional at this, I had to learn. And that's where personal development, reading and networking, and meeting people who are further along in the industry comes in. So I made friends with people who were like a few steps ahead of me. And then I read books. I read their books, followed them on Facebook, followed them on Twitter. And, I found influencers in my industry and kept learning from them. So those are the things I'll say for anybody. If you want to start anything, it doesn't have to be writing a book. It doesn't have to be maybe publishing a book, but it can be, even if you just want to start baking cakes or something, always find people who have done it before, find people who have gone through the process before. So you don't have to make the same mistakes they did. They can tell you what to avoid. They can tell you how to make things go faster. So like what I do for my clients now is help them avoid the mistakes I made as a new writer. Because I remember when I first published my book, I made so many mistakes. I didn't edit it properly, I didn't think about the cover design too much and all that. And I get the same thing when a new writer comes to me and they've made those same mistakes. And I tell them, well, now I'm going to teach you how to do it properly. So please learn from, people who have gone ahead of you. And then always make sure you continue improving yourself. I know that for me, I love personal development books. I got into them like 4 years ago and I've not stopped because there's always more to learn. So like, it could be one area of your weakness. It could be one area of your strength that you want to improve on. It could be something, a new aspect of your industry. It could be, some kind of new innovation, but always keep up with what's going on. Always keep an eye open for something that you can work on, something you can improve on, because there will always be. And the more you improve and work on yourself, the better you can serve your own clients.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. Staying up to date, and the internet is so rapidly moving.
Yeah. But it's good because you don't have to stay stuck in the past, because if you keep up to date, it's quite easy. You can subscribe to podcasts and things like that, and you hear what's going on, you hear what's happening, and that it's easy to keep up with what's trending now.
Right. If you stay focused on reading the right books and listening to the podcasts, podcasts are a great tool nowadays, because you can kind of listen to it while you're driving or on the bus, or while you're traveling, or at home while you're doing the dishes. So I love podcasts as well. I think they're a great tool.
And technology is awesome, because we couldn't have done this interview if not that technology. But now look at it, it's easy to connect with people now. It's much easier than it was 10 years ago. So if you want to, if it's easier to reach out to people and ask for help, it's easier to look for mentors. It's easier to network. It's easier to meet people now.
It is, and if we were doing this interview 10 years ago, we would be like really pixelated and
I know,
cut off like every 3 seconds. So it's amazing that it's so clear, and we you're halfway across the world. So it's exciting. So let me just close out the interview, but first, Toluope, do you want to announce your free gift and kind of what it's about, and what you're kind of offering?
Okay, so I have 2 free ebooks that you can get if you sign up on my website. One of them is about how to overcome procrastination, because I did some research and I asked a lot of new writers, what's the worst obstacle to writing your book? And many of them said procrastination. And I know how that feels, because sometimes you feel, I think I should wash the dishes rather than tackle that chapter.
Right.
So things, 10 tips on how to overcome procrastination. That's the free ebook. And then the second one is the publishing mistakes to avoid. So that's the second ebook, and you can get those 2 ebooks free if you sign up on my website at accomplishpress.com.
Okay, great. And then the link will be below us, so it'll be easy for everyone to get those free ebooks. I think procrastination is definitely widespread phenomenon in the entrepreneurial world. I think we all struggle with that, because I think most entrepreneurs have a little bit of perfectionism in them, and so that need to be perfect trumps sometimes the need to get it done. So but I think that's really important to finish things, and I think you really reiterated that, and I think that's so crucial, that if you don't finish, no one's gonna ever read it, and you're just gonna keep living your life, and that'll be that. But I just want to say thank you for taking the time to interview with me today. It's been really awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to say bye. Bye, everyone.
Okay.